This episode of the HooperCast is brought to you by Letterboxd. Right now, listeners of our show have the chance to win a free 1-year pro account upgrade on Letterboxd. For those of you who don't know, Letterboxd is a social network for film lovers that allows you to track, rate, and review the films you watch. You can follow other members to get recommendations. You can publish lists of films like your top 10 for the year and a lot more. Letterboxd is free to use. There's no subscription fee, but a pro account is going to provide you with additional features such as a customized summary of your past year's viewing. If you already have an account, then you get a 1-year extension free. If you want to enter, all you have to do is listen to our show and we will read the code word at random. Then you're going to send us an email at hoopercast@gmail.com, enter the code word in the subject line of the email, and make sure you include your Letterboxd username. The winner will be selected during the last show of each month. You can also follow our show on Letterboxd. Just search HooperCast. That's letterboxd.com, letterboxd.com, letterboxd.com. You're damn right. It's the HooperCast, everybody. Welcome. Hello. Glad tidings and good cheer to you all. My esteemed panel tonight with me, as always, the incredible Mr. Dustin Weldon.
Hey, everybody.
And the always incredible as well, Michael Grayson.
Thanks for having me, bud.
Hey, man. All right, I'm going to get off those boxes real quick because it's just going to keep cutting back and forth between the two of you for most of this show. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for being here. The show is also on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and a bunch of other places you can get your podcasts. And if you're listening on one of those audio modalities, then welcome to the full show. There's a video version on YouTube and Patreon as well. We'll get into that some other time. Gentlemen, tonight we have a myriad of things to talk about. First of all, how have you been, Michael Grayson? We haven't seen you in a while, sir.
Things are good. Glad to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. I'm glad to have you back and that incredibly interesting background of yours on that monitor.
It's like a shock explosion.
Yeah, dude. It looks great. Well, there's something I want to talk about off the top tonight, you guys, because this episode is not going to drop till our next week, till August 3rd, I think it is. But right now, with we'll break the fourth wall here. It is July 23rd. So everything we're about to say is subject to probably some change, but I wanted to talk off the top because over the weekend some pretty significant film news broke, and that James Gunn had been fired from the third Guardians of the Galaxy movie as director, and then whatever subsequent Marvel duties he probably had or was under contract for some anyway. Dustin, will you unpack this? I gotta go figure out what my daughter wants. So yeah, I'll be right back.
So James Gunn was fired following an outing, if you will, of several ancient tweets of his that were questionable in nature, definitely comedically oriented, but maybe over the line, inappropriate and offensive to some. So Disney kind of when this was brought to their attention, came out with the statement. The statement, I don't have it in front of me, but it reads something to the effect of these actions by James Gunn do
are indefensible.
They don't fit within our ethical codes or our values. And so, it was sort of seen as, just inappropriate on Disney's side. So they took the swift action of letting him go. Now, just to quickly jump in here, I do believe, Hooper, that he has finished a third draft of the script. So how much of that script remains to be seen. And, I don't know if they're going to trash it and start over, or if they're going to use that as like a bare bones kind of guide and let another writer kind of rework it so that they get the writer's credit. And I'm not sure really how the WGA kind of filters that. I know with the DGA, a director, I believe, has to direct 65% of the film in order to be the credited director. It may be the same way with screenplay. So again, I don't know if Disney will allow his name to be anywhere on the project, in which case the whole script may go.
Yeah.
Which of course is significant because I believe James has gone on record as saying, the films are sort of building towards, it's essentially a 3-act kind of trilogy.
Yeah.
And so he would sort of tie up loose ends and finish out, this story that he had in mind from the beginning here in the third film. So, again, how much of that remains, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about the general, this action of firing somebody based on tweets that they have sent years prior?
You can go ahead, Michael.
I don't know, man. Well, I don't know. I think there's a lot of stuff going on right now, especially between. I'm sorry, I just lost my mind. Disney has a lot of stuff going on right now, especially with everything they're trying to do. Acquire Fox and who's gonna, the whole bidding war between Comcast and Fox and all that kind of stuff, or Disney, towards Fox. So when it comes to them having, really top tier director who's not meshing with their values and their core, I can see from a business standpoint why they had to make that decision to separate employment and contract negotiations, all that kind of stuff with James Gunn. However, what is that going to do for the franchise? Right. Are they going to bring in a new director, or who's going to finish writing it? And keep in mind those tweets that he did make. I mean, man, that's his humor. That's right. That's the same type of humor that he wrote, which made Guardians 1 and Guardians 2 wildly successful.
Right.
So if he's not going to be involved in the project, scrap it.
Right.
Yeah, no, dude, it's nuts. Like it's in part of his statement was essentially that, he had made a career off of being provocative at that point in his life. And so it was, and he even admitted like it was childish behavior and I'm not proud of it and I'm a different person and all this other stuff. So I read some of the tweets and they're, not the sort of thing I would tweet out on the internet forever.
No, I wouldn't write that on the internet. No.
But I can't, let me just say, as a human being, I'm guilty of saying, various provocative things to amuse my friends, but the difference being not those sorts of things and not in public.
Right. And I think that's sort of the thing is that as a public figure, I can see Disney's hesitation to work with him because, what he says and does reflect on the company. My broader concern is at what point do we stop in terms of going to someone's past and accusing them of, such and such behavior that doesn't fit within the parameters of the company, even though they were not employed by you at the time that the conduct happened. And I think that, it's just a gray area because, do we go look at Robert Downey Jr. and say, well, you had issues before you were employed by Disney. So do we sever ties with you? Or we look at,
where's the line?
I'm just thinking, where's the line? I think this sort of opens up this big gray area where, it's like, okay, well, we're going to go back in time and find all your mistakes, dredge them back out, and then call you out for it, even though you were not employed by us at the time that you breached our code of conduct. And so both sides, I feel like, I can see both sides, and both sides are kind of worrisome.
Yeah, dude. Well, I'm sorry, Michael, go ahead.
No, I mean, just with everything happening in Hollywood right now with the hashtag Me Too and, the whole Weinstein scandal, the whole Kevin Spacey scandal, everything going on. Yeah. Disney wants to protect their image, protect their brand, protect their name. And when you have a director making tweets like this that say, something about little boys,
Yeah.
You really have to say, yeah, he makes this company a lot of money, but at what cost to our credibility as a company and being a family-friendly franchise?
Right.
So from a business standpoint, I totally agree that this guy, he said some stuff. It's not really meshing with what we're doing right now. However, I didn't realize it was in the past. That was news to me. I didn't realize they were all, like, I knew some of them were, but I thought that he made one. I thought he made a tweet recently, which is what kind of brought this whole avalanche down.
Right. No, it was actually brought to light. There's an organization, I don't even know who they were, or maybe it's just a bunch of people that essentially found these, dredged them back out into daylight. And, I don't even remember what year they were from, but it was from many years before the Guardians movies and all of that. And
see, that's wrong, man.
Right. Because I think about it on the personal level, right? So like, I've got employees, people that I've hired, and if I went into their past and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't," like I have to sever ties with you. It's, it's one thing if you say I can't hire you in the first place because of, and it's another thing entirely to say I hire you, you now work for me, and now I'm going to go into your past and then snoop around and then find something and then I'm going to,
because Disney already owns his intellectual property, man. Guardians was his from development front to end, and now they're saying, oh, back in the day you said some racy stuff, see ya.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I have no idea. I think.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's so weird for the franchise because I would say, and Hooper, you may chime in on this, but I would say that the Guardians movies tend to be the most creator-oriented films in the universe. Everything else is to an extent interchangeable, but the Guardians movies are very much the tone, the style, the voice of one particular man.
I would agree with that.
So losing him, you lose a lot.
Yeah, the problem, obviously the problem they have ahead of them is how they're gonna replace him. So barring the script situation, let's just say they're like, well, look, we're not going to be jerks. Like, we're going to keep the script he wrote because that's the vision we want for this film. Like, we'd rather change as little as possible. Like, we were sort of put in a tough spot to fire him, but we're not going to trash the script because his name is on it.
Sure.
So a lot of people are saying that Taika Waititi ought to replace him as director, since the sensibilities of Ragnarok and Guardians are probably the most closely linked of all the directors on that roster right now.
That's interesting.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I guess, I'm still really troubled by this happening. Obviously I understand that like Disney was put in kind of a tough spot, I guess. But at the same time, what?
Doesn't sound like they were put in a tough spot. It sounds like they went on a witch hunt.
The thing is, like, so the thing about James Gunn. So the way I understand it happening is that James Gunn, I can tell you this as a Twitter follower of his, James Gunn is openly and frequently critical of the president, as many in Hollywood are. So he frequently floods his feed with tweets relating to that. So the way I understand it is that the people who nailed him on this are like an alt-right type group of people.
Oh,
so they sort of kind of helped dig this stuff up.
Political.
And so it's a politically motivated, smear campaign, basically.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, he did tweet those things, and I don't think anyone who has come to his defense has said that the tweets themselves are okay.
Right.
But I think a lot of people are saying, and this is across the aisle, because like I haven't come across any person who's been like, yeah, they should have fired him, because even people who voted for the president, because I think, at least most conservatives I talk to, conservatives by nature are not for firing people because of their personal opinions or their speech. Especially these days, it tends to be a lot of people more on the extreme left who went after Roseanne and all that other stuff. Also a Disney employee,
Yeah, right.
So a lot of people are trying to draw comparisons between this and Roseanne's.
But it's not comparable because James made these tweets before he was employed.
Before he was under the employee.
While she was employed.
Right.
Well,
now,
that's the difference.
Exactly. And James Gunn, I mean, he graciously was like, look, I accept and I respect the decision that was made today. And, all I can say is that I've grown as an artist, I've grown as a person since those days. And I would never say the same thing today. And that should count for something because again, like this is, we talk about this a lot, Dustin, but Michael, I'm sure you'd agree. This is a real hypocritical by Hollywood, considering that they stood up and applauded Roman Polanski, an actual child rapist, when he won the Academy Award. I mean, yeah, like these people, there's definitely a double standard going on. And just even if there wasn't, this is dangerous because what it is basically we're picking the moral line just by public opinion, which is constantly in flux, more than ever before in flux. And not only is it in flux, but because of social media, this is going to keep happening. You're going to keep people's lives and their tweets and their past are more accessible than ever. And you're going to have more and more people. And if we continue to set the standard that, a tweet can destroy not even get you fired from one job, but can tarnish your name and get you, blacklisted. Yeah. That's not a good thing, but it's also like the more we set the standard, it's like a Supreme Court case. If you continue to set precedent, it's gonna be harder and harder one day when it's somebody that you don't like, or somebody that, finally, I say you, Hollywood, when it's someone that you don't want to see fired, you're going to have a hard time being intellectually honest about why that person should get to keep their job when Roseanne and James Gunn and Mel Gibson, and a bunch of other these people, said and did maybe some crappy things, but on the whole, maybe Mel Gibson's not the right person to lump into this group, but you know what I mean? Sure.
It's so political. You wonder what interaction he had with possibly a Disney executive, what interaction he had with somebody that, something may have happened. Maybe he said something, that one of his colleagues, frowned upon or whatever. And then kind of started all of this. I mean, for every action, there's a reaction. I would be hard pressed to believe that, a bunch of neckbeards with, alt-right neckbeards went cruising through his Twitter and sent it to Disney. You know what I mean? So I think there's more to this story than we know of. But regardless, when it comes back down to the franchise, I don't think it'll be as successful as the first two, period. If he's not involved, I mean, it's automatic death. It's suicide. It's suicide for the franchise if they're going to do this.
That's the thing, dude. Nobody wants this. None of the Marvel fans are glad that he lost his job. Like, look, if I was even morally outraged by what he said, like I would especially care. And maybe it's stupid that I care the most as a fan of these movies, but at the same time, this is a film podcast. That's why we're talking about this. Sure. But also, like, because I enjoy the film so much and because his involvement has been so critical to their success and probably the ongoing success of the MCU, especially after Joss Whedon, ended his time there. Like James Gunn was like their point man to just sort of help doctor everything the way that Joss had. Yeah. And now they're like, they're going to have to search for somebody prematurely to fill that void. And this isn't the worst thing that could have happened to them, in terms to the movies. But I was telling John amidst all the Me Too stuff, I was like, wouldn't it suck if like they figured out that like Chris Evans had pinched a waitress's, or come on to a makeup girl or something, and they'd have to fire him as Captain America and then replace him. So, and on the one hand, like, these films are so good and the interconnectivity has been so seamless that, I mean, any old thing could have derailed it if they weren't careful, but also, it was bound to happen. But I at least take comfort knowing that, at least just from where I'm sitting as a selfish viewer, that
it's behind the scenes.
That it's behind the scenes, but it's also that this phase 3 of these movies is almost over. It's shot and in the can.
Sure.
So as much as I don't want to see, the Guardians without James Gunn, it's still like, well, at least we'll conclude the Avengers arcs before then. And but it still sucks.
Did they shoot Guardians 3 already?
They have not shot it.
Not yet.
It's been written.
But see this, and to go off that point too about Chris Evans, I mean, what's to stop, an ex-girlfriend or, somebody in the past from coming up to Disney and saying, oh, look what he said to me in this text message, from 2004, you know what I mean? And then does Disney have to fire him if that thing is, it doesn't fall within their value?
Everyone's fired. To hell with it.
Right. And that's the thing. Like it's you're pushing the boundaries to the point where you're gonna be forced into a situation of firing somebody you don't want to fire simply because you have to. And that makes no sense.
It's a good thing
to me.
Aziz Ansari wasn't cast as Captain America.
This is true.
Oh my God, that guy.
But for real, like that's the next thing is what James Gunn said.
All someone has to do is allege similar behavior from anybody.
And there was no criminality to what he said. And so, again, to say in, the years prior to him being Captain America, Chris Evans said this, which again is not criminal, but just offensive, then, you're forced into a similar situation. And then you have to split hairs and say, oh, well, it's because that was a text message and not a tweet. And then you're saying we can only fire tweets. And then you're just like really boxing yourself into this weird area.
This dumb logic where you're all of a sudden it's like you've attached stupid criteria to determine what is.
Y'all are giving me an aneurysm trying to put logic and reason into this decision. Right. Clearly, there's very little logic and reason that went into this.
Right.
So
I mean, what's next? We're gonna have to a morality clause in these big contracts. You have to fit.
Do you believe in Jesus
standards.
Christ?
Right. These are the moral standards, and then you abide or you don't.
In a weird way, that sort of is the next frontier for this, and it's sort of like you can't. You cannot publicly associate with any religion. So then you have actors like Chris Pratt who can no longer tweet out Bible verses, if he doesn't, because maybe it's in his contract, oh, I can't be seen walking out of church or anything. Well, I'm not gonna go that far with it, but you know what I mean.
But based on this, it's not even just you can't be affiliated with that now, but you also can't in the past. You know what I mean? There's no.
Have you
no
now?
stopping.
Do you now, or have you ever believed in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior?
Right. Do you now, or have you ever said anything offensive to anybody, even in private conversations, regardless of intent? If so, no.
Are you Caucasian, sir?
It's like Oprah Winfrey giving out, you get a car and you get a car, but Disney's like, you're fired and you're fired and you're all fired. Everyone here is fired.
Everyone's fired. All new Avengers.
They'll probably that's
Pratt, have you seen the meme where he's holding a baby velociraptor and he's got the hood on, he's got the halo around him and stuff?
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Christ Pratt, and he's holding a dinosaur. It's amazing.
That's funny. It is funny. All right, well, I guess we'll say that, my sympathies to James Gunn because, it's not like it's not like he did nothing and got fired, but he essentially did nothing and got fired for it. And that's stupid. And as a fan of the Guardians films of the MCU, and just as a person who thinks this is stupid, my sympathy goes out to him. Because this is just garbage.
Yeah.
Well, he handled it incredibly classy.
Exactly. Yes. That's the thing. He didn't come on.
That's what's so great about him. And you can really tell the type of character this man possesses. I mean, because he could have done anything, he could have gone on a tweet rampage like the president. He could have done whatever he wanted. And he just said, yep, I did it. I own it. I apologize. Best of luck, Disney.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it sucks. I hate it. And then when people respond in a classy way like that, you're always just like, oh man, now I really hate to see them fired because they didn't even lose their cool,
Right. And you have actors and even in this case, family members coming to their defense and in very, classy and polite ways as well. It really speaks to the character of this person. Granted, I don't know him. Granted, the tweets were over the line, but it seems as if people have a lot of respect for him as a person.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's segue from this Marvel topic into another Marvel topic, which would be Ant-Man and the Wasp.
All right.
Yeah. So I have not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, but the two of you gentlemen have both seen it. Yes. So we've got a little time to chat about it. before we move on into another film we've already referenced in this show.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, Michael, do you want to take this away?
No, I don't.
Okay, Dustin, you want to set this up?
Michael gets to just pass like that. Like, okay.
Okay, I believe you.
And then I'll pass on the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ant-Man and the Wasp picks up on the adventures of Scott Lang and Hank Pym and Hope Van Dyne. They are reeling from the events of Civil War, where Scott Lang joined Captain America to fight against Iron Man. And as a result, he is on house arrest and hasn't had any contact with Hank Pym or Hope Van Dyne. And in the meantime, the two of them have been searching for Janet Van Dyne, that'd be Hank's wife and Hope's mother, who's lost in the quantum realm. And through a series of weird misadventures, all of their stories end up tangling together, and they end up having to locate her while also having to stop a new threat that's emerged, a villainous character named Ghost, who has some ties to some of the other characters that I won't spoil here, but nevertheless, it's sort of a not so much a heist movie as it is an escape from the law, like fugitive type movie mixed with like science-y things to find somebody who's missing. So it's a weird hodgepodge of things. The movie is directed by Peyton Reed, stars Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Pena, and of course Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas. So yeah, I mean that's the brief rundown of it. Since I did that, I will say I saw the movie today. So what I'm about to say is sort of knee-jerk reaction. It's very possible that in a week or two I'll come back and clarify or amend statements. But it was okay. It was, it was good. It was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was stupid, but I also didn't love it. I didn't think it really did anything fresh or new for the MCU as a franchise. And mostly that's because it's a very self-contained story, feels more almost phase one-y, where it's just sort of itself. Yeah. Michael, what'd you think?
Okay. Off the bat.
Yep.
Not a big fan.
Okay.
Not a big fan. Not a big fan. Okay. Now, the reason I'm not a big fan is because I feel like Paul Rudd is a talented guy.
Yeah.
But I feel like he wasn't very good in this one. And maybe it was the writing, maybe it was his lines, maybe it was the script, maybe it was whatever. But I'm so used to him being this quirky, awkward kind of individual in this franchise. Granted, it's only the second one. I just didn't see it. I thought it was a fun movie. I thought it was definitely catered to kids. I thought it was more of a kids movie than anything.
Sure.
But they had some really great, the sound design, incredible. The cinematography, incredible. The visual effects, incredible. The big ant in the bathtub was something.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very strange. Those, to me, they almost were like animated to look like they were animatronic, which is really weird. It just didn't quite look real.
I love to see Michael Douglas is still out doing stuff.
Yep.
I think he's a talented man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw it. It was okay. It was Ant-Man and the Wasp. You really get what you pay for these days, there's no hidden agenda. And at the end of it, I was like, okay, that was Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was a self-contained story.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch. There were some good jokes. Like when, what I loved the most was the building that became a suitcase.
Yes, that was awesome.
That was super cool.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah, to speak to your point, I think Paul Rudd was given less to do here. And for a movie called Ant-Man and the Wasp, he didn't have a whole lot of involvement here. I felt like it should have been called The Wasp and Ant-Man.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
So female driven. Which doesn't make it bad. It wasn't Paul Rudd as the star of this film.
Correct. He's sort of dragged along by everyone else's plot as opposed to actually being sort of the vehicle for everything, which is very different because if you have like a Captain America movie or an Iron Man movie, it's like their movie. But in this case, the movie may start with him, but it certainly, just like goes past him and to the point
well, the
where
movie's not about him. The movie's about Hope and how Hope's going to find her mother and how Michael Douglas is going to be reunited with his wife. And the story isn't about Paul Rudd. The story isn't about Ant-Man. The story is about the doctor, Hank Pym, his daughter and his wife. They should have called it, Dr. Hank Pym and finding his wife and the Wasp.
Right. Yes, agreed. Clunky title, but I agree. They could have, I feel like gone all the way with it and just called it The Wasp and let it be her movie. Yeah. She's the protagonist. She's the vehicle. Let Scott Lang show up. Let, Hank Pym obviously be a part of it as her dad, but let it be her movie. Let her tell the story. And instead, it's sort of like, she's telling part of the story and he's telling part of the story, and it never quite allows any of the characters to be the protagonist.
Lawrence Fishburne was in there for some reason. I still wonder why.
Right. He defected from the DC side and came over to Marvel.
He was in there. I was like, oh, that's Lawrence Fishburne. Right. But what's great about that, though, is literally the movie, the parts of the movie he's in, you saw them in trailers. You know what I mean? Yeah. There really wasn't much more. If you saw Lawrence Fishburne in the trailer, you saw him in the film. So,
right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the actual protagonist of the film is confused. And then, I do think there are characters like that don't get a chance to do anything. So missed opportunities. I agree. The visual effects are great, and it has some really fun moments and funny, gags to it. I did laugh. But there again, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It feels more like a kid's movie than maybe anything else Marvel has done. And I think again, knee-jerk reaction. I think one thing that bothers me is that it feels so disconnected from everything else. And if this had been a couple years ago, that'd be fine. But after Infinity War, it feels so weird to have like all the Avengers fighting Thanos and then boom, cut to Ant-Man just doing Ant-Man stuff by himself.
Or no commentary on what previously happened in the Marvel Universe. There was no commentary of that at all.
Right. So, and it's not even like the first one, where in the first one you have like Falcon show up and stuff like that. This is completely Ant-Man and the Wasp. There is no cameo by anybody else. There is no like, let's go see what somebody else is doing. This is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Maybe, and I can't even think about like the last Marvel movie that was that way. I mean, I guess Guardians. But Earth-based Marvel movies always feature multiple Avengers. This one didn't at all.
Check in on Tony Stark. He's doing something. Right. Even if it's just a blip of, what is Stark Industries doing on the news, it's still, there's some kind of reference there to the universe.
Yeah. And there's nothing. And so I think it feels so weird to, and this is the other thing, because the movie, I won't say it's underperforming, but it's certainly not performing as well as most Marvel movies at the box office. And so I kind of thinking like, well, why is that? And I was talking to one of my friends about it, and I was thinking, so it's probably a case of, we've seen Infinity War and they weren't in it, so they're not important to the franchise. They're not like, they feel more like a spin-off or like an aside. And so now having seen this, it really feels that way, because I'm thinking, if they weren't in Infinity War at all and none of the other Avengers are in this, then this just exists by itself. Like, there's nothing to tell me this is a part of that universe at all. And I think at this point, phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that feels weird.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So yeah, I think, to use our rating system, Hooper, I think this is probably a 3-star. It's okay. It's fine.
Right.
I'll give it a 3-star. It's not like I walked out, you know. I mean, I'll give it a 3-star. Yeah,
exactly. You know, it's fine, and it's something that if you put it back on or gave me a free ticket to see it again, I'd go. I'd watch it again. It's fine. It's not going to make you mad. It's not going to make you feel like, you know, you wasted your time. It just doesn't have the deeper implications or like the deeper, ramifications of any of the other Marvel movies. So it just feels more like, and now we, you know, cut to like some random thing, and then we'll cut back to the Avengers later. You know, it's weird.
Yeah, that's sort of the vibe I was getting from both the trailers and from sort of my own assumptions about what the film was going to be. Like, I didn't want to make any assumptions. But I also knew, like, okay, if I'm going to skip one of these in theaters, it'll probably be this one, because Infinity War just happened and I'm real shook up about it. And I don't feel like, I likened it to breaking up with some, like going through a bad breakup or real heartbreaking breakup, whatever your definition is. And like, you know, what was it? 2-3 months later, someone going, "Hey man, let's go out to the bar. Let's talk to some girls." Me being like, "I don't know, man. I'm not ready yet." And and it seemed like people were asking me to come out to the bar and hit on Ant-Man and the Wasp, figuratively speaking. Now if this film had been just the Wasp, I would have been there.
Right.
But yeah, it just felt like it was one of those, like, and I know that these are specifically positioned, just like the first Ant-Man was, to be like this source of levity after like a heavy Avengers film. But the difference here, obviously, is that there was a lot more fallout, I guess, from Infinity War than there was from Ultron. A lot less death in Ultron, and so for me, so I was like, okay, I really don't feel like returning to this character that's gonna give me zero answers about what's supposed to happen next in the MCU. Right. I'm just gonna see a movie, and the whole time I'm gonna be thinking, I really wish this wasn't in the recent past. I really wish this was telling me something I really wanted to know, because I didn't really care or want to know what was going on with Scott Lang or Hope Van Dyne after Infinity War. I just couldn't have cared less. And then I got a speeding ticket, and I really had to make a financial choice. Like, okay, what am I going to do?
Right.
I now I can't go to the theater, so I'm definitely going to skip it, get some Christmas money, you know, buy it, watch it before I go pay money to go see Captain Marvel and Avengers 4.
Yeah. Well, I think the last point I'd make about it is the last Marvel movie that I feel like you could skip. Like if you were showing somebody all the Marvel movies and said, okay, like let's watch the things that you have to watch in order for everything to make sense. There are, you know, what in television you might call like a filler episode. This is a filler episode. You don't have to watch it to continue. Same, you know, I would throw like Thor Dark World or whatever that was called. Was Dark World, is that it?
Yeah, Thor 2.
I would throw that in there. You can skip it. It does nothing to advance the story.
Right.
It's basically nothingness, you know, at all. Captain America always works, you know, but this is just a filler. It's just there just to be there.
Right.
Yeah, doesn't really serve a purpose.
Boom. There it is. Ant-Man and the Wasp, everybody. 3 stars from the HooperCast. Michael, would you give it 3 out of 5 stars as well?
Yeah, I'll give it 3.
Yeah, dude. That sounds pretty solid. Right. That's what I mentally gave it, having not seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, before we move on to the rest of the show, I want to remind everybody about the Letterboxd promotion that you heard at the beginning of this episode. And so all the details are at the front of the show. The code word, we really need to start hiding this better instead of very obvious after the, and then again, let's see, the code word for August, this is going to be August. So, the code word for August is going to be, lily pad.
Okay.
Lily pad.
I can see how you got there. Evangeline lily pad. I gotcha.
Yeah. Don't ask
August
me.
Is code word.
Don't ask me where the rest of that came from. Yeah, code word, lilypad. So email lilypad to hoopercast@gmail.com if you want a shot at that upgrade. So we're also going to say goodbye to the YouTube people right now. So yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a full show. If I can find all my graphics, I forgot what the hotkey was for it. So I think it's this, but I'm not positive about it. Welp, who knows? There it is. You can catch all of us, by the way, on all this social media crap I got in front of your face right here. HooperCast on Blogger, Tumblr, YouTube, Patreon, SoundCloud, Facebook, Twitter, Letterboxd, all these things. Where did that thing go? Now I need more of these links. Also, you can check us out on these podcasts providers here on the Infinity Gauntlet. So that's cool too. But yeah, certainly catch the rest of the show on video on Patreon for just $1 for the rest of this thingy. So I'm going to play this little bump out. We'll be right back on the HooperCast. All right. Anyways, yeah. So next film, you guys. Thanks everyone for instinctively staying silent there. That was very good. Very professional.
Yes.
You're very welcome.
That's how we do.
Very unprofessional of me to point out the professionalism of everybody else, though.
That's fine.
Next film on the docket today, another film that I have not seen, but you two have, is Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah.
So, okay. Michael, it's your turn.
Your turn, Michael.
Your turn to set this up.
Let's talk about this, okay?
All right. Let's go.
Now, let me preface my cinematic experience with I recently just built my first Dolby Cinema.
Okay.
Okay. It seats 198 people. I'm running dual 4K laser projectors.
Sweet.
And it's complete with Dolby Atmos surround sound and 2 butt kickers for each recliner.
Sweet.
Okay.
I do not know what a butt kicker is.
It's
Is it
essentially a metal speaker in the shoulders of your chair that are talking to the subwoofer. So when the subwoofer rattles, your chair rattles.
Oh my God.
It's amazing.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing. All right. So I built my first Dolby Cinema, and the first picture we put in there was Jurassic World 2. It was amazing. It was so amazing. That cinematic experience, man. It was incredible.
Yeah.
It looked incredible. It sat. All right. Let me paint you a picture.
Okay.
Behind the screen, you have 25 speakers. Okay.
Oh,
You have 16 30-inch subwoofers. 16 of them. Okay.
wow.
On your left wall, you have 10 speakers. On your right wall, you have 10 speakers. On the wall behind you, you have 10 speakers. And on the ceiling above you, you have 2 rows of 10 speakers.
Jeez.
All the way. Oh my God, man. It is amazing. It is amazing. That plus the 8K resolution on the screen. Jurassic World 2 was the prettiest, awesomest film I have seen in a minute.
Ooh.
Number one, I love Bryce Dallas Howard. She's gorgeous. She looks amazing in 8K resolution. I'll tell you that.
I love Bryce Dallas Howard.
I love her, dude. She was great in Black Mirror, by the way. Anyway.
Yes, she was.
Chris Pratt, amazing. We got to see Jeff Goldblum. Who doesn't love Jeff Goldblum?
There you go.
Stupid people.
All right. So essentially, here's what's going on. They visit the island again, okay? And there is volcanic activity going on. It's been 3 years since they've been to the island. They go back to the island because the volcano is going off. They are told that they are there to help save some of the dinosaurs. Bullshit. Yep. There is a private militarized corporation who shows up, and they want the most vicious dinosaurs. They want the T-Rex. They want the raptors. They want the Megalosaurus. They want the whatever they're called, whatever silly names they have for these incredible vicious dinosaurs. Those are the ones they're after, right?
Right.
So the island gets breached, and they had some water dinosaurs too, and the dam was broken, and anyway, they all end up out there in the real world. Now, here's where here's where I lost it. Okay. So this militarized corporation or whatever, they all become Russian and they go and they speak the Russian, right? And I mean, you can't even make this up. Essentially, they start auctioning off dinosaurs in a private black market type affair. Where they're, who would like to pay $1 million for the raptor? I mean, you can't make this up, dude. All in all, the movie was a joke, dude. The movie was a joke, but it looked really good. It started really strong, but then when that Russian guy starts auctioning off the dinosaurs, he's like, "Who would pay me $200 million?" Like, I'm like, I can't even handle this right now. But it was a good movie. They set it up for a trilogy, of course, like everybody's doing in Hollywood right now.
Right.
But yeah, the chemistry between Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard was incredible. They had incredible chemistry. The score, the music, dude, the music was amazing. And I love the Jurassic Park theme. I think that's an incredible motif. They have character motifs for everybody. It's just incredible. I really liked it. But when that Russian guy started auctioning dinosaurs, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm gonna go fill up my Sprite, you know?
Right.
So what do you think, Dustin?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's a really, really solid looking film. It's definitely, cinematography wise, it looks so much better than the last film. Visual effects are great, to be expected, right? Then you have, like you said, great sound, great score. Was this, who did the score for this? Was this Michael Giacchino? That's who I was. Is it? Okay. Yeah, great score. He's always solid. I agree. I love Bryce Dallas Howard. I love Chris Pratt. You also have Toby Jones in here, Jeff Goldblum, like you mentioned. Great, awesome cast. I want to elaborate more on the story is a joke thing, because the story is awful. This is like grit your teeth and just get through it. I saw this movie for free just because I had enough like Regal points or whatever, and I'm so glad I didn't pay for it, because like for me it's just so dumb. Like the movie is sort of like in two parts, right? The first part where you've got the mission on the island, the second part which becomes a James Bond movie, and it just never it makes any sense together. Like you have that first half and it's like, okay, so we're at Jurassic World, we're dealing with this, like, okay, fine. But then like the second half of the movie, which is probably more than half of it, like the second chunk of the movie, I'll say, is it takes place in California, just like in a mansion. And I'm like, this is not a park. Like half of the thrill of this franchise was that it's a theme park that's gone wrong. And
if you were really there, you'd be like, I want my money back. This isn't a park.
This is not what I expected. Let me speak to your manager. But yeah, dude, it's like, okay, now we're going to take place at a mansion and there's dinosaurs in the mansion. And then let me just say too, like from the get-go, I think their first mistake is they try to build this thing. So following the events of the first Jurassic World, you have like, these animal rights groups who have come up and they're like, hey, we have to protect the dinosaurs at all costs, like PETA or whatever. And Bryce Dallas Howard spearheads this campaign, this, political organization, nonprofit kind of deal, where, they're trying to protect the dinosaurs. So of course, when the volcano is like, getting ready to erupt, they're like, okay, we have to protect the dinosaurs. Let's get a team over there. Let's get them out, whatever. But that's the first mistake, is like they assume that the audience is going to care enough about the dinosaurs to save them. And I'm not saying that it's not sad when eventually you do see some dinosaurs die, because it is sad. But at the same time, we, the audience, are smart enough to know that if these dinosaurs continue to be around, people will continue to die. So from the get-go, they assume you're on board with like saving the dinosaurs, and I'm like, I don't know, they're kind of extinct for a reason. And then And then to make matters worse, and I'm sorry, if this spoils anything, whatever. This is a dumb movie anyway. At the end, like this theme comes back, right, where it says, okay, are the dinosaurs like worth protecting, right? And one of the characters is given this big moment to decide whether the characters should be saved or whether the dinosaurs should be saved or whether the dinosaurs should die. And in the theater, like, I'm like, kill them all, kill the dinosaurs, kill them. Sorry, but they need to die. And you have because the choice is either they die or they live and they escape into California. That's the choice we're given. And I'm like, it's not a, I don't have to think about it. You let them die. Yeah. You let them die, because the last thing we need in California is a T-Rex in the woods. We've seen it in The Lost World and it didn't work. They snuck into a boy's bedroom and ate his dog. Let's not have that happen again, please. And so,
and let's be honest, California does not have the infrastructure to take care of that sort of problem.
No, they can't even handle their own tectonic plates. So for me, it's like this isn't a choice. And the movie like fluffs it up like, oh, we should feel conflicted. And I'm like, but I'm not. Kill the dinosaurs, save the people, save California. Everything's great. That's all you have to do.
And to add on to that, I remember the pterodactyl scene from the first Jurassic World. Like, yes. Why would anybody want these things to live? Do you remember the pterodactyl scene?
Yeah, they swoop down and just grab people and drop them.
Terrifying.
Awful. No. Terrible.
No.
And
they're literally like as big as a giraffe.
Yes.
But like a bat. But like a bat. But like a giraffe. A bat giraffe. Like, I mean, it's too much.
A giraffe.
A giraffe. Yeah. It's awful. Like, and there's 3 of those jokers. So like, you let those things out, those jokers are going everywhere. You can't stop them. And so like the whole thing is just like filled with this question. Like the burning question is, should we protect the dinosaurs? And the whole time I'm like, I can't get behind your premise. Much less like the fact that your characters seem like they're pulled out of a top hat. Random military guy, Russian bad guy. You know what I mean? Like it's like they just took a top hat, IT hacker man, feminist veterinarian, and they just like played Mad Libs and like, here you go. Here's your characters.
You had no idea who these people. First off, I almost just fell over. Second,
you know what? The camera happened to be on you when that happened, so that's gonna be.
Secondly, all these guys who are auctioning for these dinosaurs, it's literally like, I'm pretty sure the credits said bad guy 1, bad guy 2, bad guy 3. Like,
probably.
You have no idea who these people are with all the money that are auctioning for these vicious dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So now we'll have to see what the third part of the. I truly think they set it up for a trilogy. I really do.
I do too.
So we'll have to see if Jurassic World 3 ends up, with life finds a way and reclaims the earth. It'll be interesting. And if they do that, I definitely want to watch that one.
Yeah. So Hooper, can we jump into spoilers a little bit here? Like
yeah, I guess
we'll spoil a couple things. So I guess if you're not into spoilers, like just scrub through just a few minutes.
Yeah.
There are 2 big things set up in this movie, which sort of breaks the fact that it's a Jurassic Park movie and almost it becomes something completely different. The first of which is, and I can see where they're going with this thing where, okay, so it's called Jurassic World. The question is like, why is it called Jurassic World? Well, the answer, of course, is that at the end of this film, they're
out in the world.
Yeah, the dinosaurs get out into the world.
Chris
like
Pratt
they're
says
no
no.
longer. Yeah, they're no longer on the park or in the park. They're on mainland.
Yeah.
So they're wandering through California. And so, spoiler alert, there is a T-Rex in California, and velociraptors and pteranodons and whatever else. And
like, isn't that shot like that big one about to eat the surfers? Isn't that like at the end of the film?
Yeah, dude, the Mosasaurus. There's just like dudes swimming and this or surfing, and this dude can like gobble them all up in one bite. Yeah. And this thing is here now. So Jurassic World of course, now means
refers
to the park.
The end of the story.
Yeah, it's like the world now. So I guess this is like Dawn of the Planet of the Jurassic of the Worlds or whatever.
It would be the film should be called Jurassic End of the Film World.
Yeah, exactly. Like it can't lead anywhere but like apocalyptic places.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so that's the first implication, right?
The sixth, Bruce Willis is a ghost sense.
Yes. So the problem here is moving forward, there's no point in calling it Jurassic World or relating it to Jurassic Park because it's not going to take place in a park, and it's not really going to be like any sort of like it's not going to have any semblance of a Jurassic Park movie. It's going to be something completely different. Although I guess technically there is still the second island, which they conveniently don't mention here. But then the second implication here, and again, spoiler alert. In this movie, we meet John Hammond's silent partner who helped him the whole time that we've never heard of before. And he has a granddaughter who he's very close with and whose mother passed away. And by the end of the film, it's revealed that this girl is actually a clone of her dead mother. Because that was John Hammond's silent part. I don't know what this character's name is. He's played by James Cromwell. James Cromwell, his whole intention behind helping Hammond with Jurassic Park in the very first film was to get the technology to clone his dead daughter so that he can, have her again. So now not only do we have this whole ramification of the fact that dinosaurs are in the world, but that human cloning is a thing that is happening and is successful and 100% like viable as a thing. So like theoretically, this movie, it could be like an army of Jeff Goldblums against dinosaurs.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing.
I would pay to see that.
I know, I would too. That's like the only way. Just an army of Chris Pratts and Jeff Goldblums.
Why isn't this what happened in the film instead?
Right.
We're gonna get a whole squad of Bryce Dallas Howards.
Yes.
Oh, dude.
There you go.
We need to change the subject fast, you guys.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah, man. But anyway, so it opens up those two like cans of worms that I feel like is really going to make whatever comes next feel very different than anything that's come before. And probably not in a good way, because I mean, at that point, what if the back end of this movie is any indication, it's just going to be like an Indiana Jones or like a James Bond kind of thing, because the movie actually like devolves into Chris Pratt like fighting people, like punching people, and I'm like, so this is James Bond, like, so it's Indiana Jones, so it's the Mummy, like there's no difference at this point. And it's like yeah, there's always been evil like corporations in these movies, but the villain is always the dinosaurs. The villain is the monster that's hunting you. But in this movie, the villain is, like Michael said, the Russian. It's like Boris and Natasha, and you have and you have like the dinosaurs that aren't even really that big a deal.
If the third one does not have Shia LaBeouf in it, they have failed as a franchise.
Dude, we have been saying this for years, that Shia LaBeouf is like the antidote to every franchise's problem. If your franchise is, he should put that on his business card. If your franchise is suffering, call Shia now.
Call Shia.
They just change it to Shia World, and it's just a theme park where he is the only attraction.
The opening scene is him dressed as a dinosaur, and then he takes his costume off.
It's an art installation. Roar.
He's crying. You guys, that's amazing.
Yeah.
See, every time we do this show, one of the reasons I love doing this show is because we always end up thinking of something that was better than what was on the screen.
Yeah.
This is certainly one of those times, Michael. I think Shia World needs to be a thing.
Dressed as a pterodactyl.
Right. So
can we tweet him right now?
Please.
I will tweet him the link to this episode.
You should. You should.
Yeah, man. So I guess I'd give it like 2 stars only because it's a good looking movie, and you know, truth be told, even though it's dumb as a bag of nails, it's still at least entertaining. And like Michael said, like if you watch it in the right circumstances, it could be really fun. But at the end of the day, like it is dumb. It is dumb. Yeah,
so dumb. But it was a lot of fun. Oh man, it was so dumb.
So I got to give it 2 stars. I can't go down to 1.
I give it 2.
You know, at least.
Can we give it 1.9 stars?
Yeah, that
Sure.
At least it's like competently made, even if the screenplay was the worst thing I've sat through.
But then again, dude, it's dinosaurs. Like how many other movies have dinosaurs? Like that automatically makes it amazing. Yes. Dinosaurs are super cool.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And Chris Pratt. I love Chris Pratt. So
I do too.
Chris Pratt's great.
Yeah. So there you go. 2 stars. Or 1.9 stars. Sorry.
No, I'll give it 2 because of dinosaurs.
Okay. How about 1.95?
Yes, done.
1.95 stars.
1.95 stars.
I give it 5 Bryce Dallas Howards.
Out of how many Bryce Dallas Howards?
Out of however many it takes, man. However many it takes,
bro. It only takes 1. Have you seen her? Are you?
Hooper, are you dying?
You're right. It only takes 1.
It only takes 1.
Not even once.
All right.
Definitely once.
Is there something that you have seen recently you want to tell us about?
Oh goodness, you put me on the spot. Well,
if not, I got
no. Well, I've got something. I've got
more.
I've got a. Okay, well, let's talk about what you've seen, Michael. Although, you know what? Briefly, I think this will be fun. Can we talk very briefly, and I do mean extremely briefly, about the 2009 Green Lantern film?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, we can do this.
Yeah. I think, yeah. So while I link up the pictures here, wow, I don't know why it's not letting me go in here. There we go. Sorry, this stuff it always locks up when I'm trying to add files to it.
There's one clip you should be showing, and that's from the end of Deadpool 2.
Well, I've not seen Deadpool 2. I own this film on Blu-ray.
Why?
I don't, because at the time I didn't think it was that bad. When I initially
I one up you. I own it on Blu-ray in 3D.
Oh my God.
I do.
That picture Ryan Reynolds right now is looking at you like, what are you saying? Are you saying you own this? All right. So, I rewatched this because I'm going through all the films I own currently and just making sure, like, do I still want to own this? And the answer for this was certainly not. I saw this movie, when it came out, I saw it in theaters, and I wrote a review at the time, and I was like, this is good, and I just was like, yeah, I just liked seeing him fly around. And then, like, everyone was like, okay, whatever, it's bad though. And then I would hear, like, in retrospect, like, yeah, that's bad. And Ryan Reynolds was like, it's bad. And I was like, I don't know. I just remember it. I mean, it's not great, but I don't remember it being bad. I went back and watched it. This film is not good. They just, I mean, this was like one of the first forays into like this attempt at the DC universe. And people all sort of agreed that Ryan Reynolds was just really miscast. It's just, I don't even know really where to start. Really, this is a 1-star film. I don't know why I'm re-reviewing this essentially, but like just to remind myself, I want to revise an earlier rating of mine. This is a 1-star film. If you have not for some reason seen Green Lantern, don't. Because it's boring. It's boring. And I remember, like, why was it not good? Because I know I didn't like it that much. Like the more I thought about it after the fact, and the more like people would talk about it and point out things, I'd be like, oh, I guess it wasn't that good. But I'd always think, like, while I'm watching it, like, okay, well, what's the real reason I don't like this movie? It is boring. Most of these action scenes wrap up like in less than a minute. The climax of the film is like 90 seconds. The CG is bad. Obviously, that's a big part of it. A lot of the characters are just nothing and go nowhere. And for God's sake, the best part of you know what the 1 star in this film is for? There's always a reason I give it.
Taika Waititi.
Not
It's
Taika.
Tim Robbins, right?
No, it is for Peter Skarsgård and his scream. Because the whole film, almost every single scene with Hector Hammond, whether he like trips on something or it becomes, or like when he gets infected by the parallax, he just becomes violently ill. And as the thing's like infecting his mind, just going like, and like taking over like his cells, he's just in bed going,
That's amazing.
And for God's sake, it's funny. Like I don't feel bad for him. It's just hilarious. And Ryan Reynolds again.
I remember very little about the movie. I remember thinking like, yeah, Ryan Reynolds shouldn't be this character, and I remember thinking like, why is everything CG, including the suit? I remember thinking like, I just don't understand any of the choices made here. Like I remember something about him going to like a nephew's party or something, like a kid's birthday party, and then like all the stuff that had no bearing on the plot, and then like his romance with Carol Ferris being very underdeveloped.
Yeah. And
the only other thing I remember is that Mark Strong as Sinestro is brilliant, and they shafted that guy.
Yeah. I will say, I will defend one creative choice this film made. I actually understand and support their reasons for CGing the suit.
I understand it. I don't support it.
That's fair. Okay. See, because the reason, more than anything else, is the suit is supposed to have been like, I guess at least in their iteration was it's made from the ring.
Right.
But then again, every time they punch them and their constructs break, shouldn't like the suit disappear and he's just nude?
Yes, correct.
So, at that point,
Ryan
it's
Reynolds
like,
would have loved that. I'm surprised that didn't happen.
you would have gotten more ladies seeing this film too, for God's sake. There's one shot, look at right there. He's just like, hell yeah, I'd do that. But seriously, like that, I mean, so I guess when you put it that way, it's like, no, it really should just be like, they'd be like, here, go to our, like, our tailor. I'm like, your suit. We have a tailor on OWA.
Right.
He's over there. The OWA tailor.
So you recently watched this, like when? Like last week?
It's probably a couple months ago at this point.
Okay.
Enough to where the place I moved it to, it has already collected.
Garbage bin?
No, I thought maybe I could sell it, and then I thought maybe I'll just give this to somebody. And then I was like, ain't no one want this shit from me.
No, you need to keep it forever.
Yes.
So your kids can throw it away one day.
Right. Yeah, well, yes. But then no, I wouldn't do that to my children. I wouldn't put them because as children often do, in their eagerness to please you, they would probably watch it and go, "Thanks for this present, Dad," and the whole time be like, "I guess they like you. I shouldn't like judge them for it." And then like later they're like, "Yeah, why'd you give us that?" I'm like, "I didn't think you were gonna watch it."
No, you should have Googled it first.
Right.
It's like giving somebody a copy of Halle Berry's Catwoman.
Ooh, that is a bad move.
Now I have not seen that film.
Oh man.
Oh, it's not good. I can't finish it. I could never finish it.
Man, not okay. There's one reason I could finish that film.
Why?
Come on. Well,
yeah.
Do I gotta spell it out for you guys?
Swordfish, like the other week. I was like, all right.
Swordfish. So not only is, obviously that's something, but like Swordfish is a legitimately good film.
It is.
I mean, for the 2000s, I guess.
Stripe beard, the whole John Travolta, his mother,
his little like racing stripes on his chin there.
The most ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah. But I actually did like Swordfish. I used to own Swordfish. Yeah.
It's on Netflix or wherever. I watched it just the other week. Yeah.
Oh, dude, Swordfish is not a bad film. No. Michael, is there anything else you want to talk about before we?
I want to talk about a couple things. All right.
Okay.
Number one, took the girlfriend to see Mamma Mia 2 on Saturday.
All right.
She loved it. They, however, were grasping for straws when it came to Abatunes, like at the beginning of the film.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the crazy thing. They made the decision that in between the first and second film, Meryl Streep died.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, so Meryl Streep was not in the well, okay, Meryl Streep was in the second one, but she was not the main character of the second one. It was all about dealing with the loss of her mother. And, you know, this young lady has 3 fathers because, you know, her mother was a whore. She never could.
Right.
Like mom was.
I did hear about this.
And then Cher is in it, and Cher is Cher, no more, no less. You know how Cher is. So that was fun. We had fun with that. They do Dancing Queen and all that, you know, classic ABBA stuff. We had a good time with that one on Saturday. Sunday, we went and saw Unfriended, the Dark Web.
Ooh.
Okay, now have y'all seen the first Unfriended?
No.
Okay. Essentially, it all takes place on one person's computer's desktop.
Okay.
And they mirror it, right? So it's like what you're watching is the computer screen. And that's the whole film, right? It takes place on a computer screen. In the first one...
So wait, so it's like found footage in that sense?
Exactly.
So would it look a lot like sort of this video show?
It took place on a desktop. Yeah.
Right. Like, so would it look a little bit like our chat where like, you know,
it looks exactly like our chat where
it
jumps between who's talking and
right.
we're all hanging out in a Google Hangout or whatever. So in the first one, the 50-word version is that there was a young woman who got drunk at a party and passed out and totally got Brock Turner. Okay. Terrible thing that happened to this young lady. The footage gets uploaded on the internet and she commits suicide.
Oh,
okay. A year later, on the anniversary of, I mean, these are some dark films, dude. This is a horror genre. These
that sounds awful.
Films.
Yeah.
So she kills herself, and then a year later, on the anniversary of her death, a couple of her friends are hanging out on Google Hangout or whatever, on Facebook, all this kind of stuff, and somebody posts the video of the suicide because she did it in a public parking lot. And X, Y, and Z happen, and they try to figure out which friend isn't being honest, and then they all just kind of slowly die one by one, essentially. Now, the second one we saw on Sunday was better than the first one because, number one, it's not about high school. It's not about high school kids. I can't relate to high school or high school kids. It's grasping at straws, man. I'm so old these days. So in the second one, which was kind of wild, and spoilers, turn it off. I'm going to spoil everything. Don't listen to me. Spoiler.
Fantastic.
All right. So what happens is this guy essentially steals a laptop, and he steals this laptop and starts going through it and finds some files and folders on there, which ends up being footage of human trafficking. And he's seeing video files of girls sleeping in their beds, all the way to videos of girls in, 10-gallon barrels being transported. You know what I mean? Like really dark stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So essentially, they're all hanging out on Google Hangouts, and the whole reason they're hanging out on Google Hangouts is because they're going to have a game night, and they're like playing Cards Against Humanity online or whatever with each other. And then he starts going through these files and stuff on this stolen computer, but he tells all his buddies he paid for the computer on Craigslist. And anyway, these hackers get involved, and they say, you stole the computer. There's sensitive material in there. There's some cryptocurrency in there. There's like a $10 million cryptocurrency wallet they find, and he steals the money. And anyway, one of these guys ends up at his deaf girlfriend's house and starts following her, and he starts communicating with this man that if you don't give me the money back, I'm going to kill your girlfriend. And long story short, every one of them starts dying one by one, all the way to the end of the film, where it ended up, because all these kids were screwing around on the dark web or the deep web or whatever you want to call it. They're screwing around on this, black internet, this
dark, deep, whatever, black market internet. It ends up, total spoiler alert, it ends up being the people on the dark web are having a game night with these kids' lives.
Oh,
yeah, it was twisted, dude. It was definitely, it's, if you're into horror movies and kind of found footage stuff, 5 stars, highly recommended.
Wow.
It was one of the best scary movies I've seen in a long time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
crazy. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Boy, as somebody who uses a webcam, I don't know if I can abide this.
Yeah. And they're, like, because these people end up in all these other people's houses and stuff.
Ugh.
You know, because they're all playing. It's a bigger game than what they know it is. I mean, it was pretty wild.
Ugh.
It was pretty wild.
Giving me the willies.
Scary.
Yeah.
Right. Dang.
Yeah. There's some movies out there.
That seems like the kind of horror movie that I would like. And I think one day soon, Hooper, we're going to talk about some horror movies on the program. And
we did last week.
Oh, yeah. And so I feel like
we don't know yet.
Well, yeah. But yeah, I feel like one of the things is a lot of movies resort to jump scares, but I feel like what's always more frightening is like, this is a concept or a thing that could actually happen rather than just like, oh, I jumped in my chair, like, and then you just leave and you're like, that was kind of fun. And you're like, but that wasn't scary. Like if you think back, like when you were a kid sitting around a campfire and somebody's telling a ghost story, it's not scary because at the end they go boo and you all jump. It's scary because for 5 minutes, somebody talks about like, and then a kid was murdered, and you're like, oh, that could happen to me. Ooh. And so like, yeah, this seems more like the type of horror that I think is interesting as opposed to like just something that's like, there's nothing here and then boom, something's there. And that's not scary.
They found her body and she was still holding the letter.
Oh no.
Well, I'll tell you this. If the Unfriended dark web sounds good to you, I would watch the first one. You can Amazon it, download it, pirate it, whatever it is. Pay your studios. Don't pirate anything.
Right.
If this format sounds interesting to you, definitely watch the first one because it's the same recipe. The first one is the same recipe as the second one. The way you watch it is somebody's desktop. Gotcha. It's like they recorded their desktop with the Google Hangout and all that kind of stuff. So, very, very interesting way to make a film. Yeah. That's for sure. But low budget. I mean, it was very, very good. The third thing I wanted to mention that I saw recently, another kind of dark kind of thing I saw. It's called Evil Genius, and it was a 4-part docuseries on Netflix. They were 45 minutes apiece, and it was about this woman named Marjorie Heidel Armstrong, this crazy woman who like had boyfriends disappear and like ex-husbands die and all sorts of stuff. Essentially, no spoilers on this one, but essentially it's a 4-part, 45-minute docuseries, 45 minutes each, about how this woman may or may have not convinced a pizza man to rob a bank for her. Seriously, back in 2003 in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Seriously. It was made by the Duplass brothers, who are great filmmakers.
Yeah.
So I think they did Rubber. I think they did a lot of things. Hang on.
Did they do Rubber?
I think they did. Let me see.
Oh. Rubber was good. I liked Rubber.
I did too.
Have you seen that, Dustin?
I have not.
It's about
what?
It's about a tire.
Yeah, dude. It's a tire. It's just like it's a sentient tire that just rolls around bludgeoning people.
Okay.
To death.
Amazing. That sounds fun.
It's pretty good.
I don't know how to. Hang on, I'm trying to Google it. Let me see.
Yeah, dude. Dustin and I, so we, obviously we're recording this episode before we record the episode that's going to drop this week, where Dustin and I are talking about a handful of vaguely horror related films. But I will say that what is always more interesting in a horror film is, if the concept itself is scary, or if it's long, lingering, like, you're looking at something like tension. There's anybody, and I said this when I was talking about it, anybody can build, anybody can give you a jump scare, because all it takes is something sudden, whether it's a sudden image, a sudden flash, sudden music, sound, whatever. Like it's just, it's what your brain, it's not the same thing as a legitimate scare. It's just like, hey, let's mess with your adrenal glands and cause you to flinch and react. So it's just, it's sort of like, if I say something and I stop and make a face, you're supposed to laugh. And it's like, that's not the same as being funny. That's just a Pavlovian thing. Like, you stop talking, I'm supposed to laugh. Right. But it's not the same thing as actually earning the reaction that you're going for.
Yep.
Absolutely, because these were not cheap scares. These were very circumstantial
and built to it
events, like this could really happen kind of stuff.
That's the thing. That's the thing about a jump scare. Like a jump scare requires no context. You can it can be about anything. It's just a jump scare. But a real scare is entirely dependent on the context. So if you can scare me just because of what's going on in this film, in the scene, not necessarily in a transition between shots, that's a scare. That's unsettling.
Now, I know you have small children, so it's probably not very easy for you to watch horror films or scary films or anything. But what was the most recent one you've seen?
The most recent one I saw was Before I Wake.
Before I Wake. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, so Dustin and I will discuss this in the past episode before this.
Okay.
But Before I Wake it's on Netflix right now. I think it might have been a Netflix film actually, but it stars Jacob Tremblay, that kid from Wonder, Dustin, and Room, and then Kate Bosworth and Thomas Jane. And it's directed by Mike Flanagan, the guy who did Gerald's Game. Mm-hmm. And so
Gerald's Game, I remember that one.
Gerald's Game was great.
Yeah, it was. I think we actually talked about that.
Yeah, you know what? I think we did. I think you're right. But yeah, so that's the last one I saw. So there's a couple more that I sort of am interested enough to put on my list. There's another one of Mike Flanagan's called Hush that I wanted to check out. There's I prefer. So I'm writing a horror movie. Or I'm supposed to. I want to be. It's on the agenda.
That's awesome.
And the sort of thing I'm going for is very much like a Babadook type deal, where it is very symbolic, and sort of like Before I Wake, where it is symbolic of essentially how good horror should be pretty much a direct allegory to how human beings react to loss or fear or anxiety or something. It's not just about a creature in the night. It's supposed to be about what people are going through emotionally, and whatever the monster is supposed to be some sort of manifestation of that emotion. Yeah. So in that vein, my story is going to be, I aim for it to be a lot more along the lines of the Babadook, where the horror itself is mostly implied, a lot more image based and not sound based. Okay. So some of the scariest shots in the Babadook have no sound attached to them. They just cut back to something, and then something's there that wasn't there before. That freaks me out more than anything, is silent shots. Like it freaks me out. So
one that I'm looking forward to coming up, horror film. Yeah. The Nun.
Man, I don't even know what that is, and I don't want to know.
All right, it's before The Conjuring. It's before Annabelle. It's before any of that, but it all ties into that stuff.
Man.
Because I love horror films. I love going and watching these scary movies, man.
I don't love horror films, but I'll watch a handful of them.
So
I have to pace them out.
Right.
Because I'm scared.
I'm a scared.
Yeah, dude. Well, why don't we leave it there, guys?
Yeah.
Michael, I know you got a meeting in the morning, so I appreciate you being with us for so long tonight.
You got it, buddy. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Thank you for having me, man. It's always so much fun.
Yeah, man. This was fun. We got to do this again, and hopefully it won't be as logistically difficult as it was this time and the subsequent time or previous times. So, yeah, man. Good stuff. So Cool. All right. Well, check us out next week, everybody. We'll talk about something. I'm not sure because this is supposed to be the one that's later. I don't know. Anyway, it's August now in this episode. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hopefully, thanks for listening. Definitely. Oh God, here's those links again. Sorry, Lord. Oh, my hotkeys are my hotkeys are screwing up because I keep having to click over to the window and do stuff. So it's taking my cursor off of the thing that enables the hotkeys. So it's excuses, but you know how it is. See, it's doing it right now. Doing it right now.
Right.
Why ain't you doing it? There we go. It's the wrong one. It wasn't the program. It was me. There's where you can find us on social media. Here's where you can find us on podcasts. But yeah, everyone, thank you for listening, watching the HooperCast. Catch us next week. Stay tuned for the quick pick, whatever that is. Today, later today, earlier today, some other time. I need to stop talking. Anyway, cool. Thanks, everybody. Good night. Get out there. Go see some good movies. Have a good weekend. See some of the films we talked about, probably.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Later.
Woo.